Is he doing a motion? Is he doing a motion? Mike's working a motion.
Yes. Camera's back.
I make the motion to return from executive session.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Ms. Tranto?
Yes.
Okay. I make the motion, whereas the Township of Orange, Delaware County, Ohio, Township of Concord, Delaware County, Ohio, Concord, and the Village of Shawnee Hills, Delaware County, Ohio, the Village, have negotiated and intend to enter into the Evans Farm Joint Economic Development District contract to create and provide for the operation of the Evans Farms Joint Economic Development District in accordance with section 715.72 of the revised code for the mutual benefit of the residents in the state of Ohio. Now, therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio, that the following resolution be and is hereby adopted. Section 1. The Board hereby approves the form of the contract now on file with the fiscal officer subject to any revisions thereto following the public hearing provided for herein into final approval by this Board. Section 2. The Township shall hold a public hearing concerning the contract commencing at 10:15 a.m. on the 7th day of October 2019 at 1680 East Orange Road, Lewis Center, Ohio. The public hearing shall allow for public comment and recommendations on the proposed contract. The Township may include in the contract any of those recommendations prior to final approval of the contract. The fiscal officer is authorized and requested to cause notice of the time and place of the public hearing to be published in the Delaware Gazette, which is a newspaper of general circulation in the Township 30 days prior to the public hearing. Section 3. The Board further directs that a copy of the contract, together with a description of the area or areas to be included in the district, including a map in sufficient detail to note the specific boundaries of the district and the economic development plan for the district that includes a schedule for the provision of any new, expanded, or additional services, facilities, improvements, and a schedule for the collection of any income tax to be levied, shall be available for public inspection in the office of the Township Fiscal Officer beginning on the date the notice of the public hearing is published in the Delaware Gazette. Section 5 is found to determine that all form actions of this Board concerning and pertaining to the adoption of this resolution were taken in an open meeting of this Board, and that all deliberations of the Board in any of its committees that results in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in accordance with all legal requirements, including the Ohio Revised Code 121.22. Section 5, this resolution shall take effect at the earliest time provided by law.
Trustee Rose, I think you left out the first paragraph.
Like I said, it's good. So start with it, whereas.
Okay.
Like
I would just read it just in
The
case.
Board of Trustees of Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio, met in a regular meeting on the third day of September 2019 at 1680 East Orange Road with the following members present: Ryan Rivers, Lisa Knapp, Debbie Trey.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Tranto?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you. This is a financial tool that's going to provide a new revenue stream that the township is going to share in. And I want to thank Mr. Lamb and Mr. Platt for your help in this and the economic development team getting us to this point. And we still got a few more meetings to go, but we're hoping to have this finalized by the end of the year.
Yes, and I would like to also thank our attorney, Mr. McCarthy, and Mr. Bowden, our administrator, and the whole board for all their hard work, because it was quite a team effort to get all of this together and approved today.
Several years in the making.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you to all.
Thank you.
All right, public safety report.
We just have one item on the agenda, and that is discussion of possible action regarding
Okay.
for firefighter.
All right. I make the motion, be it resolved that the Board of Township Trustees of Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio, declines to extend the injury leave of firefighter paramedic Rachel Peters.
Second?
Ms. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Hamp?
Yes.
Ms. Tranto?
Yes.
That is all I have.
Thank you. Zoning report, Ms. Bonner.
Yes, so our updated meetings report, our next hearing after the zoning commission is Tuesday, September 17th, 2019 to 7 p.m. That is scheduled to have the Porsche application itself, residential district on South State Orange Road. However, I just was informed that they're requesting another table, so we will still have a meeting, kind of go over some zoning commission minutes and schedule a new hearing date from there. Next is our Board of Zoning Appeals on Thursday, September 19th at 6:30 p.m. We do have 4 applications on the agenda. The first is a monument sign for the new Ninja Express car wash over on Orange and 23. The next is an area variance for a swimming pool installation. Following that is an area variance for construction of a deck in a single family district. And lastly, is another monument sign application for the new Syrian dental on 23 Orange Senator. And that's all I have for the meetings. Continue on to the next item. Okay. So the next item I have on the agenda is discussion of possible action regarding zoning diagnostics assessment. I don't have anything to share with you at this point in time. We did receive a proposal from this specific consultant that we're working with. It has been forwarded to the prosecutor's office for their review. But essentially, this would be the first phase to get us ready for doing a major code update. It's more of a tool that staff will use, which will then share with the zoning commission on how to move forward with the code update. And then they essentially create a matrix that reflects all the recommendations that are outlined in the comprehensive land use plan. This consultant will not make recommendations of their own. It's really reflecting on our long-range plans we have in place. I'm going to chat with a few of you about this. If you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to take them. And my next steps will be after communicating with the prosecutor's office, provide the options, and explain the process from there.
So this is not intended to actually change the direction that Orange Township is going in as far as their zoning or densities or anything like that. It's intended to just clean up the code for legal purposes. And
yes, that's correct. And this diagnostics review is not something that we would. It's not. We don't adopt it. It's not something we have to use. It's really just a guideline for staff. When we get ready for the code update, I can see, oh, these are the amount of changes we need. Maybe I need to adjust my appropriations, adjust the time frame, what else we need to do. It really gets us have that step ready for us. So.
And they would probably be more up to date on current law.
The current law, this consultant is LP zoning that I've been communicating with. Majority of them are land use lawyers, so they'll be looking at it.
And so the procedure is that you're running it by us right now, so we'll let you know if we're interested or not interested in it. And then you're going to provide a presentation to the zoning commission at the one meeting that Porsche is.
That was my thought. Since Porsche was tabled, I was planning on bringing this to the zoning commission.
Okay.
I have let the majority of the members know about this already, but.
So you'll do a presentation that evening for them, and then you'll ask for their support.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it comes back, then you'll, like an informal maybe support or consensus, and then it comes back to us so we can appropriate funds.
I do have the funds appropriated for this, but there are 3 different options. So with this, I want to talk to the prosecutor's office about it first, and then we'll identify the top option. I'll share it with the board, and then I'd like consensus before I would move forward with that.
Okay, so when I asked you about it, I think that the only entities that you know that have done it are cities. So I think townships, we'll wait to hear back from Mr. Betts, but I think, I think maybe we should just hold off on I want to hear what Mr. Betts has to say, because
Oh, I'm not, yeah, and I'm
yeah,
not voting.
right.
I'm not moving
Okay,
forward
so you can
until
put
I
this on
have-
another agenda, we'll discuss
This
it.
is just kind of bringing it to the board's attention at this time.
Because I'm not sure, but I think, we have to actually, the board has to appropriate funds from you or from wherever, and then the zoning commission, has to actually vote to appropriate those funds to expend for this. So Mike,
Well, and authorize you to enter into the agreement, but I would say if you're going on the 17th, if you're going to present it, I would distribute a draft, and indicate it's a draft. Let them see it, talk to them, the buy-in, rewrite's been planned for quite some time.
So the zoning commission has to approve the amount that we're willing to spend on this?
The zoning commission is authorized to retain consultants to assist in bringing forward updating the code.
Even if this is something that we're not adopting?
It is still an effort of a consultant to assist in bringing forward a revision of the code. Only authorities, we went through this some months ago. The only authority that exists in the statutes per the AG, per treatise, and even per the township handbook is the zoning commission. Trustees don't, nobody else does. So it's a matter of working it through them. You've indicated this isn't something that's going to be controlled or corrected. They've talked, and I believe you participated in undertaking a very extensive review of the entire code.
Mm-hmm.
And there are obviously things in there that we know are issues. These folks may have some suggestions beyond that. But, bottom line is, as Knapp indicated, they have the authority to retain the consultant, but only within the limits of funds that are set forth by the board. So it would, even though it's been appropriated, I think some action of the board, to the extent that once you have your final product, the board has resolution authorizing that, maybe a little redundant, but you get a clear path. That authorizes the money, zoning commission authorizes the contract, off you go. So I think the 17th would be a good time to launch that or begin the discussion.
so is this different than, what about the trustees initiating like, a change of zoning resolution?
You can initiate a change in the zoning resolution. What you can't do is retain a consultant to do it.
Okay, because our initiation would
And
have to
the way-
specify what
The way
the changes
zoning
were.
is set up in Ohio, and I'll copy you folks the materials that we went through back in February, March. But the way it's set up is it is very much directed at the zoning commission. They are the initiators. If you look at the process, regardless of whether it starts with a trustee motion, whether it starts with a zoning commission or a trustee resolution, or a zoning commission motion, either way, where's it go first? It goes to the zoning commission. Zoning commission then does its thing, and then
But
they
who
bring
actually
forward-
does this thing? Isn't Michelle and her staff are the ones who are actually
That's
doing
what
the work?
When I called the references, and they were all Ohio cities at
They're
least, they did not
cities.
have zoning commission involved.
Because they're cities, I think that's the difference.
Okay, and that's what, I guess that's something.
Well,
I need to
the
double check.
thing with cities is, we operate, for better or worse, under Chapter 519. You know it, I know. They operate under Chapter 711 and 713. They have additional powers that we do not. Additionally, beyond that, many cities, and I'd have to see the names of the ones you saw, many cities have gone charter, which gives them a further ability to more or less write their own ticket. I've seen some pretty strange charters. And maybe, I have no doubt there are some communities that the planning staff runs the whole thing and anyone else is a
Yeah,
clown.
because
That's never been what
this
you know.
diagnostic review is not providing, the only recommendations they would provide that are either that are not technical would be based off the comprehensive land use plan. So they look at each section in our code, say this is good, this is not, or if it's not good, you should reword it to this, or say this is no longer allowed, or this is something you should.
Or this has changed, like public utilities. We know that.
Mike,
Yes.
what's the difference between that consultant doing that and like, say, Michelle or Jeff sitting down and going through it themselves and giving their own opinions, maybe talking to a trustee, hey, what do you think about this? What is the difference?
I'm not a lawyer.
Pardon me?
I said I'm not a lawyer.
Well,
Well,
but
I
I don't
put
think
that
it,
on the shelf, I mean,
I don't think it matters though.
watch the place operate for a while now.
What's the difference between
The
that, like,
difference
or,
is that if Michelle is preparing for a hearing that she's expected to appear at, I think that's, they put out staff reports, the board has accepted that, the commission's accepted that. And I think that especially, well, I'd say both are useful, but I think BZA in particular saves a lot of time when we've got 4 applications. But if she wants to prepare, she can prepare. As far as hiring someone else,
okay.
that's
The
what I think
hiring is
you-
what triggers it?
Well, the idea is, and again,
It's the payment
better or
limits.
worse, that it's the statutory route for townships is very zoning commission centric.
Okay.
Now, not as much as it used to be, I think, I don't know if any of you folks remember or not. Right now, they go through their thing, they send it to you folks, it just requires a majority vote. If you remember way back, it used to require unanimous
Yeah,
vote
yeah,
of Board
of
of
3.
Township trustees to modify or reject the
Zoning commission.
recommendation of zoning commission. So it's not quite the same animal it was, but still, it is very, I think, weighted toward the idea that the zoning commission, the appointed members of the community, are going to be a major driver here, subject to the final rule of the board of trustees, who are the only directly elected people in that whole process.
So is it the spending of funds? So say this firm came in and said they were gonna do it for free.
Well,
Could
if they-
Michelle ask
you
them to
are-
do it
You
for
are
free?
authorized to, we went through that with planning warrants. That was free.
Oh, that's right, but,
Caused some confusion, I'll say that.
so because it was free, did the zoning commission pass a resolution stating that they, because there was no funds, but did they
There were
pass a
no funds
resolution that
expended,
stated?
there was no contract brought in. In the end, after they finished their process, Michelle brought that back to the zoning commission, and they went through it themselves. And ultimately, you ended up with where we're at.
So it's
right
a
now.
cost that kind of triggers it that,
It's the retaining of a consultant.
okay, all right.
Trustee Knapp, if I could interject, I heard Ms. Bonnie indicate that this was in the hands of the prosecutors, so they would probably delineate the same line
Yes,
of process
exactly.
that Mr. McCarthy is
Yeah.
indicating. So they-
Exactly, but they will, but I'm just wondering, I just wanted to understand it and have everyone understand it, so. We'll hear
I
back
will
from
also
Mr.
say, I think you'll have a
Mr.
stronger process if you have a buy-in from this.
Yeah, so Mr. Betts will get back with us probably before the next meeting.
Yes, and then I guess today, I think this is something that we agree to move forward with, or,
I think we need to wait for the legal opinion, but I don't object to it as long as we can do it and we do it through the right procedures. I want to make sure I'm not violating the law, but I think it seemed like a good idea with all the, I mean, none of you guys or none of us have time to go through the whole code. I mean, that would, it might be a good idea to put that in the hands of experts to clean it up, so.
and I can share everybody the examples that we've been received to. if you'd like to
Yeah,
look
that would be
at
helpful.
So,
All right.
Michelle, moving forward.
Thanks, Michelle.
Michelle, what was the name of the firm?
Healthy zoning,
Calfee, are they related to Calfee Hall in Griswold?
She probably doesn't know.
Okay, I was just wondering if the name showed up. CALFE.
Mhm.
Yeah. If they are related to that firm, you don't get that book. You have the township law, remember? They've got a 3-volume municipal, and Calfee has been the revision author on that for decades. So they do have broad
they're
experience,
maybe
if there is that.
A good firm. Well, maybe next meeting we'll know more, but I'm not opposed to it at this time at least.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you. We have Mr. James with us here today.
Sitting in on the maintenance report for Bill. Yes, the first item on the agenda is the acceptance of road and set of speed limit and stop sign conditions for the new roads in the township.
Just to clarify, if I could, Mr. James, the township does not decide speed limits or stop conditions. That's done by the county, and this is really to accept the additional miles of 1.73 to our total mileage in relation to the 3 roads that are mentioned by virtue of their construction.
Well, what about the second resolution, which declare a reasonable and safe prima facie speed limit?
I believe it's as recommended by the county.
So we'd be looking for a motion to accept those 3 roadways. And then that moves into the agenda that accepts the county's prima facie.
Yeah, but the title of it, I think, is confusing.
Yeah, the agenda, put on the agenda would be indicative of what villages and cities may utilize. And
Okay.
I think that was just an error.
If I could, let me take a quick look at the 451121K. Because unless it's changed, that did actually allow the board in residential or commercial subdivisions to establish
Yeah,
a lower.
that's
FEMA
what-
And that's the next resolution that
Yeah,
follows.
with the support of
Yeah.
the county engineer's analysis, which is the process that was worked out
Do we-
back in 2004.
And is it not correct that they can provide a recommendation? Do we have to go with the recommendation?
You have to take your action, as I recall, this is out of the Uniform Manual of Traffic Control Devices. You have to have a recommendation of the engineer's office consistent with the action you're taking. So they can't say, for example, yeah, you can set the speed limit at 50 and you turn around and make it 25.
So it has to be the
You have to
exact
have
the
a
same action.
supporting, as they call it, traffic study, if I remember, and I haven't got it in a while, but you have to have a supporting engineering study that justifies impeding traffic, because otherwise the default speed limit is 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, but it does allow us to declare a
It
reasonable
allows
and
you
safe
with the
speed limit.
support of the
Yeah.
county engineer's
So-
recommendation, which we worked out a process, like I
Right,
said.
yeah,
in
where
about
you submit
2004.
the
that
request
the
for.
engineer, and going forward, if you see referenced in the commissioner's motion to the engineer's office, that does mean that they've done
Yeah.
an adequate review in their estimation to the extent that it does comply with requirements of both 451121K and the Uniform Manual.
But we are setting the speed limits.
You are setting.
Okay, so township
Yes,
can't.
I apologize.
Okay, I just want to make sure
No,
that we're on the same page, all right?
It's a weird
And that's
thing.
what Aaron said as well.
Technically, you are.
All right, thanks. I'm good with it. Is it just the first one then?
And it rolls right into the second one as well, just with the same topic.
The first, are we just still in A? Are we just reading A and then going forward with the rest?
Two.
Okay,
And this is all for A.
Yep.
This one and the 2 resolutions are for A.
okay.
Okay. I make the motion to acknowledge the addition of the following roads: 0.10 additional miles to Township Road TR 808 Graphics Way, 0.34 additional miles to Township Road TR 409 Green Meadows Drive, and 0.29 additional miles to Township Road TR 1435 Corduroy Road.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Mr. Tranto?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
I heard different pronunciations there. It's Prima Facia? All right, I'll go with. Okay. I make the motion whereas RC section 4511.21K 5 authorizes the Board of Township Trustees to declare reasonable and safe prima facie speed limit of less than 55 miles per hour, but not less than 25 miles per hour on a finding that a prima facie permitted speed of 55 miles per hour is greater than reasonable and is safe in regard to certain township highways. Whereas such authority is limited to those highways in township jurisdiction which are located within commercial residential subdivisions, and whereas residents of subdivisions within the township have indicated that such prima facie limit of 55 miles per hour is greater than is reasonable and safe, and have asked for lower speed limits to promote health, safety, and welfare in the neighborhoods. And whereas the Board of Township Trustees have conducted an investigation of those township highways listed in the attached Exhibit A and have received a recommendation from the Delaware County Engineer's Office to the Delaware County Commissioners regarding the appropriate speed limit which should be established for such highways. And whereas the Delaware County Engineer's Office has previously, by letter to this board dated December 16, 2004, confirmed that prior to making such a recommendation to the Commissioners, it is the practice and policy of the Delaware County Engineer's Office to conduct an engineering and traffic investigation as to each affected road, and whereas that correspondence stated the belief of the Delaware County Engineers Office, and that this practice and policy and the resulting recommendation of the Delaware County Engineer satisfies the requirement of RC 4511.21K5 for an engineering and traffic investigation. And that the board, upon being presented with a copy of such a document, thus has a basis upon which to establish a speed limit, confirming with the recommendation, and whereas that correspondence further advised the board that pending further written notice from that office, and may rely upon such a written recommendation of the Delaware County Engineers Office, the commissioners as being in compliance with the foregoing, and that the speed limit recommended therein is appropriate on the streets and platted subdivisions that are subject of the document. And whereas that correspondence further advised the board that the foregoing applies to recommendations received in the future and to such recommendations as may have been received bearing a date subsequent to May 18th, 1998. And whereas upon such basis it is the finding of the board and the Delaware County Engineers Office has reviewed those township highways listed in the attached Exhibit A and found them to be appropriate for a prima facie permitted space of 25 miles per hour. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Township Trustees of Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio, on the basis of the investigation conducted and the recommendation received from the Delaware County Engineers Office, finds that the prima facie speed limit of 55 miles per hour set forth in RC 4511.21B5 is greater than is reasonable and safe under the conditions existing at the location of those township highways listed in the attached Exhibit A. Be it further resolved that the board finds all highways listed in the attached Exhibit A are located within residential or commercial subdivisions of the township outside the limits of a municipal corporation, that all the requirements of RC 4511.21K5 have been met or satisfied. Be it further resolved that the board declares the reasonable and safe prima facie speed limit upon those township highways listed in attached Exhibit A to be 25 miles per hour. Be it further resolved that the roads and parks manager is hereby directed to erect appropriate signage giving notice of this altered speed limit as soon as possible so that enforcement may begin.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
All right, that takes us on to,
Do the maintenance worker.
Thank you, board. The last meeting, we accepted maintenance worker Gary Hall's resignation, which is November the 1st. And after discussions with Mr. Cowan and Mr. James and Mr. Bodnar, we'd like to begin getting the posting up for that position to fill for Gary's resignation. Their collective bargaining agreement does not indicate that they're only allowed a certain amount of staff members, so we can go ahead and post for that, get that position filled. Hopefully have a couple of weeks that that person could train with Gary, and it would be before snowplow season, so we could get, Aaron could get them established with their route and get, kind of teach that person the ropes before Gary leaves, since he's been here so long and has such knowledge that we would want to give that to the new person. So after the meeting today, we'll go ahead and get that posted. We did look at the job description and the posting, and there's nothing in there that we believe needs changed. Mr. Cowan felt the same way. He's okay with go ahead and posting it as is. We'll take the last posting we had a couple years ago and update the dates of it, and it will be posted until filled. And we'll, if the board is okay with that, we'll keep everybody updated on where we're at.
Yeah.
So November the 1st, we'll be here before we know it.
We're not normally afforded the luxury of having time to hire and train, so
Right.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
we wanted to
appreciate
take
that.
advantage of that while we had it. So
Yeah.
we just, and we mentioned something about this the last meeting, but then I totally forgot about it, so that's why we added it to this one to let the board know, to keep them updated. Thank you.
thank you.
The next item for consideration is the contract between Shelley Sands and the Township in regards to the Lewis Center North Road shared use pathway. This was a rebid article, and I have before me the agreement.
Known as Del-CR 106-00.44, Lewis Center Road and North Road shared use path rebid in the amount not to exceed $261,401.05 based on unit prices as stated therein. Be it further resolved that the Township Fiscal Officer is directed to obtain possession of the contract performance bond and Delaware County Engineer's Office shall be the prevailing wage coordinator for this project. Be it further resolved that all members of the board shall execute the contract on behalf of the board.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Ms. Tarantula?
Yes.
Being passed down is the article for signature.
So basically, the next 10 items are all the easements along Orange Road.
Phase two.
Do we have any questions on the easements?
No.
Just go through each of these.
As none.
Okay. I make the motion to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to LC Vets Properties LLC in the amount of $300 for right-of-way and or easement acquisition for East Orange Road Phase 2 project.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Ms. Tarantula?
Yes.
I make a motion to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Kenneth D. McDonald in the amount of $21,754 for right-of-way and or easement acquisition for East Orange Road Phase 2 project.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Ms. Tarantula?
Yes.
I make the motion to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Toy Box of Columbus in the amount of $35,000 for right-of-way and or easement acquisition for East Orange Road Phase 2 project.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Ms. Tarantula?
Yes.
I make the motion to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Trent Robert Smith in the amount of $2,805 for right-of-way and or easement acquisition for East Orange Road Phase 2 project.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Tarantula?
Yes.
And Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
I make the motion to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to MGS Partners LLC in the amount of $32,602 for right-of-way and or easement acquisition for East Orange Road Phase 2 project.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Tarantula?
Yes.
Knapp?
I make the motion to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Gatehouse Media Operating LLC in the amount of $4,075 for right-of-way and or easement acquisition for East Orange Road Phase 2.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Ms. Tarantula?
Yes.
Make the motion to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Frank M. Metzger in the amount of $16,352 for right-of-way and or easement acquisition for East Orange Road Phase 2 project.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Tarantula?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Make a motion to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to KBC Property Holdings News Center LLC in the amount of $1,397 for right-of-way and or easement acquisition for East Orange Road Phase 2 project.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Ms. Tarantula?
Yes.
Make the motion to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Hidden Spring Development LLC in the amount of $774 for right-of-way and or easement acquisition for East Orange Road Phase 2 project.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Ms. Tarantula?
Yes.
Make the motion to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Jerry Bishop in the amount of $11,547 for right-of-way and or easement acquisition for East Orange Road Phase 2 project.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Tarantula?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Make the motion to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Dunrob and Associates in the amount of $14,550 for right-of-way and or easement acquisition for East Orange Road Phase 2 project.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Ms. Tarantula?
Yes.
And that takes us to Park Report.
Park report, we do have obsolete items to go on gov deals would be all the pool furniture that was replaced this year, consisting of lounge chairs, table chairs, deck chairs, tables. All the numbers there are on the resolution. And the amounts that was set per chair or minimum reserve bid on gov deals, once they are obsolete.
Okay.
I make the adoption of the following resolution, whereas the township has certain used property with a value greater than $2,500 that is not needed for public use, is obsolete or is unfit for the use for which it was acquired. Now therefore be it resolved that the following listed property found to have a value greater than $2,500 to not be needed for public use, to be obsolete or unfit for the use for which it was acquired, shall be sold by internet auction in accordance with Resolution 19-018 and the online auction memo of understanding between the Board of Township Trustees and Gov Deals Incorporated, with a minimum bid amount which will be considered being as indicated. 155 lounge chairs, a minimum bid of $7, 85 table chairs, a minimum of $7 a chair, and 56 deck chairs with a minimum of $7 per chair. Be it further, and 24 round tables with a minimum of $15 per table. Be it further resolved that the terms and conditions of the sale shall be as set forth in Resolution 19-018 and the online auction memo of understanding between the Board of Township
It's
Trustees.
013.
It's actually 17.
Yeah, 17-013. Top left.
19-018.
Did you say something different?
Yes, that was
Oh.
updated. It is 19-018.
Is there a separate template? Do we have the wrong template?
This was in the most recent edition of the template.
Usually it says final on it.
Yeah, there's two that say just trustee, and neither of them say final or second. Are you reading from the one that just says trustee? Because they both say that.
I'm reading the one that was at our table this morning.
Well, they both look the same.
I apologize, I'll make sure that that's done in the
Okay.
future.
19-018 in the online auction memo of understanding between the Board of Township Trustees and Gov Deals Incorporated, and that the same, together with the above information, shall be provided on the internet by Gov Deals Incorporated at the time of the auction. Be it further resolved that the revenue collected from the sale of the items by internet auction shall be deposited into the general fund of the township, or upon further order of the board, transferred and appropriated to the specific fund from which the item sold derived is as if ascertainable.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes?
Mr. Tranto?
Yes.
Trustees, I apologize for that error on my part.
Thanks.
Make the adoption of the following resolution, whereas the township has certain used property which has no value and is not needed for public use, is obsolete, or is unfit for the use for which it was acquired. Now therefore be it resolved that the property listed in Exhibit A of this resolution, incorporated herein by reference, as if fully repeated, is found to be not needed for public use, is obsolete, or is unfit for the use for which it was acquired, and to have no value. Be it further resolved that such property shall be discarded or salvaged, and William Cowan, of Virginia, shall oversee his disposal. I'll listen to Exhibit A.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes?
Mr. Tranto?
Yes.
Then we've got
The next item is the North Road Park sign. Mr. James has researched this. He found one provider of service. Do you want to share that you had also, I guess, spoken to a couple of other vendors?
Yes, I reached out to 3 or 4 different sign companies. Since this is a major sign consisting of concrete work, block work, carpentry, signage, and roofing, not too many of the sign companies would even touch it. They didn't have the ability to get that many contractors on staff. One company did reach out to me and said they would have no problem giving us a quote for that, which was Sign Vision. Worked with them the last couple of weeks trying to get this, get it rolling and get it up and running. We're one of the sign companies that has done our size in the past. Morrison Sign Company is no longer in business. I reached out to them 4 or 5 times and I couldn't get hold of them. And I think from what I've talked to some of the other people, they're more of a general contractor. They reach out to all the other contractors and try to set them up, get everybody in order and which way they can build the sign. So unfortunately, we only have the one company that gives support on the sign.
And it is quite a specialty design, unique, and that makes it, that comes with its challenges. Mr. James, did you know when they estimated delivery?
They said it would take, once we get approval, it would take 5 to 7 weeks
Yes.
for construction of the sign.
And I talked to her, Kelly spent some time
Yes.
talking to her, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna hold off to the next meeting and trying to set an opening date because she'll have more of an idea of when the sign might be ready as far as setting an opening date. She did say that could be a little bit quicker because we don't have to go through the zoning permit process is, I guess we have to adhere to the requirements, but
Given that the township has the legal authority of eminent domain, just like the county, just like the school, just like the state of Ohio, you have to follow the rules. You don't have to follow the process. And I think the last case I remember was actually a rail trail situation where that was the absolute holding of the court. That, if there was let's say, put in something hideous right up on the right of way, and the zoning department took exception to that, they could in fact initiate a lawsuit. In that lawsuit, what would happen is the court would balance the benefit to the public of the zoning regulation versus the benefit to the public of what you're doing for your own purposes. So that's been the law since 1980. I want to say brownfield case.
because when I asked you, I said basically we should adhere to the requirements, but we don't necessarily need to get a zoning permit.
No, but you do need to adhere to the requirements, and I strongly suggest that zoning.
Take a look at it. I don't think we have to actually, if that were to hold things up, which I doubt it would.
When we did this.
Yeah, on the bridge part.
Years ago, we actually had them fill out a zoning permit just to have something on record so we have to sign details. And we made sure it was in conformance with our development standards.
It's not required, I think, but it wouldn't, that
I
wouldn't hold.
suggest you continue that.
That wouldn't hold.
And it takes us like
It's very quick, right?
Yeah.
It's very quick. So I talked to them and they said that because we have our zoning in-house, it would be a little bit faster maybe than the 5 to 7 weeks. I noticed that one of the colors on the sign was incorrect on the logo. It was supposed to be
Yeah, those are our old colors. She'll switch that around to the new color. She has the color palette.
Well, she actually used the new color palette, but what they did is they accidentally used the lighter, or the medium or the lighter green under that said Township. She used the wrong green. So when I looked at, it's supposed to be the primary colors, and they had used the secondary colors for the name Township.
Is that something you want me to reach out to
All
Kelly
right,
about?
Jared. Yeah, she did. So she sent the email to me and Bill.
Right.
So
Make sure
did
she
you
copied it.
get it today?
I don't know if I got it today or not.
Okay, she sent some new revised renderings, because last week I didn't know Bill was going to be out, so I said just make sure you copy me on what you sent him, but then you didn't get copied, but I did bring copies of it. So the one question that she had was, and she's really great, so thanks for reaching out to them. They've been awesome. So I had the one green corrected, but her question was, and Bill knew I was talking to her. Her question was, there's 2 different versions of the sign. One that has a white background like the rest of our signs, and one that has a color. This is the white one, and this is the cream colored one. Here, Aaron, I made you copies also. And would you just give these to Lee real quick too? Are you walking there? So one has the white and one has the cream color on it. And when I sent her a bunch of different sign examples, the thing is we kind of have a hodgepodge right now on all the different signs. So they're kind of the same general design, but different colors. So so what she did is she made, in the new version, she made the Orange Township logo a little bit bigger, as big as possible. Do you see it's slightly larger? And then she made the Orange Township slightly larger. She fixed the township, so it's now Pantone 5757 for the township versus it was like the lighter color, that complementary color. But her question was, and she said, Bill, and you had been going around about it, should the background be that cream color of the logo or should it be white? And I'm kind of siding with white because all of our signs have the white background. And does that violate? That doesn't violate the color rules for the color guide, right?
White is pretty much universal.
Okay, and this is kind of what our current signage. I did a compilation of all the signs, so you can see that they all have white backgrounds, and these are all our current signs. They all have a different base as well. So I was going to recommend that we go with the version that has the white background.
Yeah, I think it stands out a lot better.
Yeah, don't you think? Okay, I just want to make sure. And then I also sent her some updated ones that showed that the orange was a little bit more prominent than maybe it had showed in some of the renderings. So, and then I think they worked with you to replace the, originally it was going to be just a split face block, or it was just going to be concrete block, and then you said, no, let's do the split face block, yeah.
It has to be the rough.
Yeah, because that was a good
And,
call.
eventually we're going to be probably updating all the park
Yeah.
signs over the next few years, with the new logo.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is a good time to set precedence on
Yeah.
white background.
That's a good point. And I think it's only a couple of $1,000s for each of the panels if we wanted to replace just the panel itself, maybe
Right.
2,200. So
We did the panels over at
North Orange.
the Aquatic Center
Yeah.
in North Orange Park last year.
Yeah,
Because they were disrepair.
they were bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and so I think she's doing the tan brick. Some of these kind of had, some of the other signs have no brick or tan brick or red brick or a combination of the two. So she was recommending or you recommend the tan brick or the tan split face block. So yeah. So and I wanted to, one of the signs had a frame, the orange bridge park frame, the newer sign has a frame around the actual sign.
Okay, I haven't noticed that. I can go take a look.
Yeah, I have a picture right here. So there's actually, the difference with that sign is it has a wood frame around the actual sign part of it that looks really nice.
Like a border?
Yeah, border, exactly. So I was going to suggest, I only noticed that over the weekend. So I was going to suggest, do you have the amount for the purchase order?
I don't really know.
I was going to suggest adding, like rounding up to the nearest highest number just in case they want to add that frame onto it.
I don't think that would be an issue.
Okay. Are you guys okay with the frame? It's got the frame around the, kind of look nice on Bridge Park.
You have a 19,768 without lights.
Yeah, we don't have, there's no lights on any of our parks.
Okay. So, and she said they could start on as soon as possible. Can I just borrow that? It's in my pile, but
Are we gonna get a final proof of what?
it will look like that what I just sent you out, that white one that we just discussed, the other version.
The white one with the bigger Orange Township logo, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, they both have a larger logo on it. But it'll be that, with the only difference between that would have maybe the wooden frame around it, which matches our latest sign. It's got the nice frame around the sign, which is the most recent. That would be the only difference, is putting the frame around it. This one here. Saying just wood around the frame around the sign. But that's our latest version.
Yeah.
But everything, it would look just like that, but with the wooden frame around here. And then they'll send a final proof to Aaron. And then we could send it out to everyone too, but I wanted to go ahead and pass the resolution. And maybe make it for, maybe 20,500 just in case, round it up a little bit.
We don't actually have a resolution.
We do
No,
not
we
have a
don't.
resolution prepared. This was to share information, clean direction from the board,
But we can make a resolution, but,
if you wish to.
okay. Yeah, I don't think we should wait 2 more weeks. I make a motion to approve a purchase order in the amount of $20,500 to Sign Vision Company, Inc. for the purchase of a monument sign for North Road Park.
Second?
Ms. Knapp?
Yes?
Ms. Tranto?
Yes.
Mr.
This
Rivers?
is for all labor, everything for the sign, right?
Yeah.
Everything, yeah. And I did do some price comparison, and I couldn't find anything
It's so hard to
cheaper.
find anything.
Yeah, nobody would do all the work. They would just do piecemeal.
Yes.
And then we'll have them send out the final version, and everybody take a look at it just in case.
She did.
Yep. Got 3 yeses.
Okay, trustees, the next item is to authorize the issuance of a purchase order for Shelley Sands, which coincides with the contract which you approved earlier in the meeting.
I make a motion to authorize the issuance of purchase order to Shelley and Sands Incorporated in the amount of $261,401.85 for construction of the Lewis Center North Road Trail Improvements, Del-CR106-0.44.
Second?
Ms. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Ms. Trento?
Yes.
And the next item, trustees, was the addition of the approval of a field use permit for Roe Park.
Any questions?
I have none.
I make the adoption of the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Township Trustees of Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio, approve and enter into an agreement with Olentangy Pioneers Little League Incorporated for the use of recreational premises located at Roe Park for Olentangy Pioneers Little League's youth baseball program. The agreement shall be in the form presented to the board as being made with Olentangy Pioneers Little League titled Roe Park Field Use Agreement, bearing in its footer the identifying version date of 08302019. Be it further resolved that Trustee Knapp of the board shall execute such agreement on behalf of the board.
Second?
Ms. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Trento?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
And that is all for our parks report.
Trustees.
Mr. Mayor, fiscal office report.
There's just one update I have for the board. I spoke with the state auditors last week, and they've wrapped up the 2018 audit. The next step is they're going to be meeting with me this week, and then they'll be setting up a meeting with the board through Mr. Bodnar. I'll work with him on that, and as you know, that meeting is a closed meeting by law. So I'm guessing it can be probably in the next week or two, depending upon your schedules.
Great. Thanks.
Administrative report, Mr. Bodnar.
Yes, trustees, I shared some information with you earlier. Did I miss the safety report this morning? Oh, okay, I apologize. I think that's when I was gone. I just wanted to make sure and stepped out for a minute. I shared some information regarding the possibility and exploration into vehicle charging units on township property. That information and direction is currently in the hands of the county prosecutor's office for discernment. So as I get information from them, I will give that to you. So I'd like to table further discussion on that topic.
It looked interesting.
It is. It's, it's the way of the future, and it's projected that 1 out of 5 new car buyers will purchase an electric car.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting stat. Of course, that's provided by the electrical car manufacturer, so I guess you have to take that into consideration.
So then you would look into how much the electricity would cost and all that.
Absolutely. The mechanisms that they have currently for consideration, the person pays for the electricity, and then the township is reimbursed by a universal hub that provides the funds to the trustee or to the township to pay for the electricity. So it's a zero cost obligation, at least at this point, and future no funds in the future would be necessary.
So the user that's charging their car is the one that pays for it.
Well, if you want to hear about it, there's actually apps available that you plug into if you're an electric car owner, and it tells you the nearest charging stations. It tells you if they're currently free for use or occupied. It tells you the cost, and tells you can actually get in line and save your space for the next charge.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's really going high tech, and you would expect it to do those things. We're at that level of engagement, I think, especially on something as new and exciting as this.
Because I think Powell does not charge for their electricity, right? Is that true?
That I do not know what Powell charges.
I'm not sure.
Their
I
agreement?
didn't think they did, but I think they put theirs in pretty early on in the.
They did, I think probably about almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think there were some numbers as far as how much they spend on electricity per year, I believe. But in this case, they would actually, because it's
They
becoming
pay
more
through the
common,
app.
they pay through the app. Okay,
They
that's
pay through the app, and then that information then those costs are collected, those funds are collected, and obviously there's a service charge and all this that those that would collect this information would keep, and then it's funneled to the township. My understanding, and again, this has to be explored upon further, is there may be an opportunity for even the township to add a few cent surcharge per kilowatt hour, provided that those funds are utilized for green purposes, such as pond dredging or tree planting, things of that nature, that impact us in our green area. So I mean, it sounds all great and well at the onset, but the devil, as we all know, is usually in the details. So that's really why I have it in the prosecutor's hands to flush out.
It sounds interesting. Thanks for looking into that, Lee.
Oh, certainly. The next item of discussion, I'd ask for, is the Veterans Memorial Project, and I'd ask that be tabled. The township did receive 3 responses from Edgeporta, OHM, and POD Design. Those are currently being vetted by the committee in charge of vetting the responses. And as soon as those responses are received, we will tabulate those, and something could be made at the next trustee meeting, if that would be okay.
Looks like we have a purchase order.
You do have a purchase order. This is for the annual website hosting and support fees. This will run until October or September, the end of September next year.
I make the motion to authorize the issuance of purchase order to Civic Plus in the amount of $9,625.73 for 2019 to 2020 annual website hosting and support fees.
Second?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Mr. Tranto?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
That's all I have to provide.
Our water update.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. It was a 16-inch main that has a leak. The leak is located over by South Old State and Orange Road. The Delco Water Company is the facility operator. They are addressing that leak. By virtue of our positioning, the Township Hall is the only one impacted by that leak. They are rerouting and doing a bypass of that leak. Until they do that bypass, the township is without water. So that happened Friday evening. We kept tabs on it through the weekend and the holiday. And the water pressure continues to diminish. And what I put this on the agenda for is the board's approval that should the township go without water when the water pressure ceases, should it cease, that we can close the office for operations and supply the employees with funding as if they were here. God bless you. This was no act of theirs, and they should be compensated accordingly. It's an unfortunate thing, but I think for the safety and health of staff here, we would want to close the office for no water. And so I would ask for your approval to give me the authority to close the office and to pay the employees should that happen, and should the water cease to flow.
Yes, that's fine. Do we have to pass a resolution?
I suggest if it involves money, just quickly.
I would have had one prepared, but I really didn't know until this morning where we're at. The prognosis is that the water should be repaired either this afternoon or tomorrow at the latest. So it's still up in the air. It depends on what they find underground.
So I make a resolution. I make a motion that our administrator, Lee Bodnar, be authorized to close Township Hall and offices and to that the employees are authorized to receive their full pay in the event of a water line issue.
No water.
Yeah, what if there's just a little bit of water?
That's what we have currently.
So it's okay for now?
It is working right now. Now, that's the last time I checked it. I haven't checked it since we started at about 9:40. So I'm going to guess that it has diminished even more so.
So upon using your discretion, upon his discretion for some kind of water line failure.
And that would be as the employees assigned to the township hall.
Yes, as to the employees assigned to the Township Hall.
Second.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes?
Ms. Tranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Thank you, trustees.
You
You gonna
want
check the water? Thank you. That now concludes all I have.
And Lee, can you make sure that we
Yes.
table the North Road Park opening to the next meeting, the grand opening, discussion of the grand opening date? I'm not sure if they tabled that or not.
Yes, you did.
Did I table? Okay.
Do we going to add with the park bench and tree?
Oh, yeah.
So we'll table that again. Park bench and tree as follows. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've got it.
That takes care of everything on today's agenda.
I don't want to table the park bench and,
Do you have trustee Tran or do you have something to do with that?
yeah, should we wait for her?
Trustee Knapp, I could use your signature.
Sure.
Do a use agreement if you were authorized to sign.
Right here.
On the other side, I think. Let me see.
Oh, wait, no, I guess
Yeah,
it was
that's
this.
it. And I don't know if you want to sign this for, Joe, for the annual website hosting fee.
Is that,
That's an annual.
is it today? I put today's
Today's
date.
the third. Thank you.
I'm glad I forgot all that. So I was having a printer malfunction today and yesterday, and I wasn't able to print this bench out. But I did a lot of research over the past couple weeks for the memorial bench, park bench that we were talking about people could purchase for their loved ones that we would install in a park of their choice at a location that they would choose, subject to approval by the director of operations. So I took a lot of pictures of the existing benches, and they're like a cedar color at North Orange. And they're just a standard bench. And Bill and I and Lee had discussed a different kind of bench for the memorial bench. Nothing too fancy, but just to kind of set it apart. So I found this nice bench. This is what it looks like. It's got, it's nice. And so these benches are around, you can put text on the back, and the benches are around, they're like about a little bit under $1,000 or $1,100 with 2 lines of text and about $100 and some for each additional. So I wanted to, I guess, have a consensus that it's okay for that neighborhood group to raise funds to purchase this bench. And when the funds have been raised, they can approach us and we will buy this bench for them. Mike, how would we do that? Do I want to know?
Well,
And do we know what park?
I guess, okay,
Yeah,
our
this
authority is
one's at
going to be
North
under
Orange.
section 50510, we can accept donation. So what you would want to see is this group raise its money and then direct that money to, I would suggest to the board, probably through the fiscal office. But when they deliver the funds, have it be stated to be for the express purpose of, whatever they're doing.
whatever the bench is, or what type of bench, what location. And that way, if you accept the donation, and just make sure it's not for our purposes, we've got to take it up. Please go ahead.
So you could do general
Just a general
fund?
donation of a bench to the township. And, you have to respect actually the conditions of the grant. And for everything except parks, you are privileged to decide that. With parks, actually, a judge has to decide.
We'll just do,
Yeah, we don't.
we'll just do general purposes.
The placement of the benches would have to probably be set by the board. And not,
Yeah. But,
They would probably want to put somewhere, maybe 8 benches right in a row.
yeah, stagger 'em.
Throughout the park.
Yeah, and I was thinking that you guys could work with the family, and there's a lot of areas at Northern Park that don't have benches. So there are a lot of benches, but there's a lot of spots. And this particular person has he lives in North Orange, and the pool and the whole park area is very special to him and his family. And his son was 23 years old, and so he might have a particular location that with the park's approval and the message, of course, would be, we don't have any real guidelines on that, but I'm sure, we could, we might want to approve the actual message.
But now you're ready.
Oh, no. Move
Possibly
on.
you should have some guidelines going into this, or work it as you go.
I think we're working as we go.
Mike, let me throw this at you. Just as a condition, the board would accept the donation following these parameters. So the board would accept the donation plus the conditions attached to it, which would be worked out by the Parks Department and the individual making the donation. They would present that to the board, and the board would either accept it or deny it or modify it.
Yeah, for
correct?
each iteration.
There you go. And I think that would be
That's
a
a good
general
idea.
fund thing too. It's like you have indicated through the fiscal office.
Well, and the thing, we've been trying to, and Trustee Trainer knows this, that I started working this program a year ago or so, or 9 months ago, but then it turns out someone else was already working on it, and it's become like this years-long kind of fiasco. So we just want to be able to offer this ASAP, and it's kind of ad hoc, but I doubt there will be thousands of purchases, but if it becomes a problem, we could do something. They also are interested in planting a tree, if possible. So, subject to the type of tree. I mean, do you have any recommendations for a kind of tree,
I
Aaron?
could get you a list of trees that are.
Okay, would you? Okay, and could you get a list? How big would the caliper be? Like 2 inches or so normally?
Probably be 2 inches or less.
Okay.
For the caliper, the size of the tree.
We should stick with the same bench for everyone else.
Yes.
The root ball and the weight.
Okay, do you think you can ask some prices? Because I looked at some different prices, about 400, but I also wanted to ask for approval that if this group, they want to donate a tree and a bench to hopefully be planted near each other, if possible. And also consensus that they can do that. I'll get the list from Aaron and that we can pass on, because what they want is to start raising funds for it. So after I give her the prices, she can come back and say, well, this is what we want the sign or the bench to say. I mean, we could discuss it at the next meeting, but
I
this,
get you tree prices.
yeah.
For 1 inch caliper and 2 inch.
Okay, and different variety that
They'll
would,
fluctuate and they'll go up each year, so.
Yeah.
We can kind of keep up with the prices on it.
yeah, maybe a kind of special kind of tree other than the normal parks
Yeah.
tree, maybe an ornamental tree or something. So I'll probably come back at the next meeting, but they would like to start raising funds for this because this has happened on November 1st of last year, so they would like to get moving on it. And when can you plant a tree? Is it only in the spring or
Grass, spring and fall.
Yeah, spring and fall is the best time to do it.
what's the latest time in fall?
Sorry?
When's the latest time in fall?
You can do it right up until the ground freezes.
Okay, good, so we have some time. Okay.
I have a question to clarify. Are you proposing that the individuals will donate the money to the township and the township will make the purchase?
Yes.
Or that the individuals could make the purchases themselves subject to our standards, and then they donate the bench and the tree to the park?
No, I'm the first one. We've done that in the past for other things.
I'll just have to check on how to handle those funds coming in.
Yeah, I think they can come in as general purpose funds, and then we can spend them from the general fund. I'll let you know.
Covers all we have today. Meeting is adjourned.